Right now, you are breathing, you are not thinking about it, you never have to. But here is the strange part. The way you are doing it at this exact moment is probably not the way your body was designed to breathe, and the consequences of that quiet, invisible mistake have been shaping your face, your sleep, your focus, and your health for your entire life. This is not about a breathing technique you read about online. This is about something far older, far stranger, and far more personal than that. Your lungs have been running on autopilot since the moment you were born. Around 23,000 times a day, your diaphragm contracts, your ribcage expands, and air rushes in. You never asked it to. It just happens. But autopilot is not the same as optimal, and somewhere between ancient forests and modern offices, something went quietly wrong. To understand what, you have to go back about 300,000 years. Your ancestors breathed through their noses, almost exclusively. Not because they were disciplined, not because they had read about it, because their faces were built for it. The bones of the jaw, the shape of the palate, the architecture of the nasal passage, it all evolved to filter air, to warm it, to humidify it before it ever reached the lungs. The nose was not a backup entrance. It was the only entrance. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has spent years studying the human skull, and what he found is striking. Pre-agricultural human skulls have wide jaws, broad palates, straight teeth, and clear nasal passages. They were built to breathe efficiently. Then something changed. The moment humans began eating processed soft food, first ground grains, then bread, then everything that came after, the jaw stopped doing hard work. And when the jaw stops working, it stops growing. The face narrows, the palate rises, the nasal passage compresses, and suddenly there is not enough room. Your teeth crowded because your jaw never got the signal to expand. Your nasal passages narrowed because the bones around them never spread wide. And so you started breathing through your mouth, not by choice, by architecture. And here is where it gets strange. Mouth breathing is not neutral. It is not just a different route for the same air. It changes everything that happens to that air, and everything that happens to you. When you breathe through your mouth, the air enters unfiltered, unwarmed, and unhumidified. It bypasses the nose's turbinates, those scroll-shaped bones that slow incoming air and press it against a surface coated in cilia and mucus. Cilia that trap bacteria, cilia that humidify, cilia that prepare the air for what comes next. When you skip all of that, you breathe in more pathogens, more allergens, more dry air. Your throat gets irritated, your sinuses overreact, your body starts producing more mucus to compensate, and you reach for the antihistamines and wonder why you always feel congested. But the story gets stranger still. Stanford sleep researcher Christian Guilleminault spent years documenting what happens to people when they tape their mouths shut during sleep. Not as a punishment, as an experiment. 40 middle-aged men with varying degrees of sleep-disordered breathing spent 10 days breathing only through their mouths at night, then 10 days breathing only through their noses. The results were extreme. During the mouth-breathing phase, snoring increased by 4,000%. Sleep apnea events tripled. Blood oxygen levels dropped. Then the tape went on, the mouths were closed, and almost all of it reversed. 10 days, the same people, the same beds, a different route for air. You have probably never connected your restless sleep, your morning grogginess, your afternoon brain fog, to the way air enters your body at night. But the data suggests the connection is real, and it is not just sleep. Breathing through the mouth during the day changes the chemistry of your blood. The carbon dioxide balance in your body, which is what actually tells your brain when to inhale, gets thrown off when you breathe too fast, too shallow, from the chest rather than the belly. Russian physician Konstantin Buteyko spent decades documenting this. His patients breathed more, bigger breaths, more often. And paradoxically, that made them feel worse, more anxious, more short of breath, more fatigued. Because the problem was not too little oxygen, it was too little carbon dioxide, and too much of it was being exhaled before the body could use it. Think about the last time you were nervous. Your breathing got faster, shallower. Your chest rose and fell rapidly. That is not a coincidence. The nervous system and the breath are in a constant conversation. When your breathing is dysregulated, your nervous system assumes something is wrong. It activates the sympathetic response, the fight or flight branch. Cortisol rises, heart rate accelerates, digestion slows, attention narrows to the immediate environment, scanning for threat, and none of this is voluntary. Your breath told your brain something was wrong, and your brain believed it. Now reverse the experiment. Breathe slowly, breathe through the nose, let the belly expand on the inhale, let the exhale be longer than the inhale. Within about 90 seconds, your heart rate slows, your pupils relax, digestion resumes. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for creativity, complex thought, and impulse control, comes back online. Not because you thought calm thoughts, because you changed the information your nervous system received. Your breath is not just air management, it is a direct lever into the oldest part of your brain. But here is the counterintuitive part that most people never reach. The goal is not to breathe more, it is not to take deeper and deeper gulps of air. The research, from Buteko's clinical data to modern sports science, consistently shows that elite endurance athletes breathe less than average people, not more. Their bodies have become so efficient at using oxygen that they need fewer breaths per minute to achieve the same effect. The lungs are not like muscles in that sense. You do not strengthen them by overusing them. You strengthen them by training them to do more with less. Researcher James Nestor, who wrote one of the most thorough investigations into breathing science, came to a surprisingly simple conclusion after years of research. The optimal breathing rate for most adults, according to multiple studies across different cultures and disciplines, converges around 5.5 breaths per minute, 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out. That is roughly half the rate most adults breathe at during the day, and when people practice that rate, even for a few minutes, cardiovascular efficiency improves, anxiety decreases, blood pressure drops, and cognitive performance rises. Ancient meditation traditions arrived at nearly the same number thousands of years before the data existed. Buddhist monks chanting, Catholic monks reciting the rosary, yogic pranayama. When researchers measured the breath rate of people engaged in these ancient practices, it converged at about 6 cycles per minute. The tradition did not know why it worked. It just knew that it did. What your ancestors understood intuitively, without journals, without studies, without knowing the word for carbon dioxide, was that breath is not a background process, it is a control system, a dial. And most of us have never touched it. Right now, your body is running a program written by 300,000 years of evolutionary pressure, then quietly corrupted by soft food, indoor air, chronic stress, and the habit of holding tension in the chest. And the correction is not complicated. It is almost embarrassingly simple. Close the mouth. Breathe slower. Let the belly go first. The strangest part is what you will notice in the first few minutes. Discomfort. Not because anything is wrong, but because your nervous system has been so accustomed to the shallow, fast pattern that slow and nasal feels like too little, like you are being deprived. That feeling is the signal, not the danger. It means the carbon dioxide tolerance in your body is low, and it rises quickly. Within days of practice, the air that once felt insufficient begins to feel like enough. Because it always was. You just had to stop getting in the way. Tonight, when you fall asleep, you will breathe around 8 to 12 times per minute without thinking about it. Your mouth may fall open, your chest may rise and fall unevenly, and none of it will feel remarkable because it never has. But somewhere in the quiet machinery of your lungs and your nervous system and your ancient narrow jaw, a process that was designed for a different world will keep running. Not wrong exactly, just running the only program it was ever given. And now, for the first time, you know exactly what it's running and exactly how to change it.